It was midnight in the penthouse suite of the Royal Lagos Hotel. Silence wrapped around Chidi Okafor like a heavy blanket, broken only by the aggressive hum of the central air conditioner. He was looking for a lost contract in his gold-rimmed wastebasket when his fingers brushed against a rough, crumpled ball of paper that didn't feel like his expensive stationery. Curiosity piqued. He pulled it out and smoothed it against his glass desk. His breath hitched. It wasn't a memo. It was a charcoal sketch, a portrait of an old woman frying akara. So lifelike he could almost smell the hot oil and feel the heat of the fire radiating from the paper. The shading was masterful. The emotion in the woman's eyes was raw, haunting, and undeniable. It was genius. Pure, unadulterated genius found in a trash can. Who put this here? He rushed to the office door and threw it open. Down the long marble hallway, a cleaning cart rattled. A small figure in a faded blue uniform was just disappearing around the corner. Chidi stood frozen. He held a masterpiece in one hand, while the artist was pushing a mop bucket down the hall. He had to know who she was. Story family, welcome back. If you believe that true talent can be found in the most unexpected places, hit that subscribe button right now. Tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? Let's see how far our family reaches today. You there, stop. Chidi's voice echoed against the marble walls like a gunshot. The cleaner froze, her shoulders hunched up, a reflexive defense mechanism honed by years of trying to be invisible. She didn't turn around immediately. She gripped the handle of her trolley until her knuckles turned the color of ash. Chidi closed the distance with long, purposeful strides. The smell of expensive cologne overtook the sharp sting of industrial bleach radiating from the cart. He stopped right in front of her, breathing hard, the crumpled paper clutched in his hand like a weapon. Turn around, he commanded, though his voice had lost some of its edge. Slowly, terrifyingly, she turned. She was young, maybe mid-20s, with high cheekbones and eyes that held a profound, weary sadness. Her name tag read Amara. She wouldn't meet his gaze. Her eyes were fixed firmly on his polished Italian loafers. I found this in my bin, Chidi said, holding up the sketch of the old woman. Who drew it? Amara flinched. Her worst nightmare was unfolding. She had meant to take the sketch home, but the supervisor had come in yelling, and in her panic, she must have tossed it with the trash. Sir, please. Her voice was a trembling whisper, barely audible over the hum of the hotel. I'm sorry. I wasn't wasting time, I swear. I finished the floor early. Please don't report me to the agency. My sister. I need this job. Chidi blinked, taken aback. Report you? For what? For drawing instead of working. For using your office paper. I'll pay for it, sir. Just please. She was shaking now, like a leaf in a harmattan wind. Chidi looked from the terrified girl to the masterpiece in his hand. She thought this was about paper? She thought this was about time? She had no idea she was holding a diamond while apologizing for the dust. Amara, he said softly, stepping closer. I'm not going to fire you. I need to know. Are there more? She hesitated, her eyes darting to the bottom shelf of her cleaning trolley, hidden beneath a stack of dirty rags. Chidi followed her gaze. He reached past the dirty rags and pulled out a tattered notebook. What he is about to see will change both their lives forever. Chidi opened the book. The spine was broken, held together by cheap tape, but the contents were priceless. He flipped the pages, and the noise of the hotel faded away. In its place, the chaos of Lagos roared to life. There was a charcoal sketch of a conductor hanging off a Danfo bus, shouting his destination, with veins bulging in his neck. There was a market woman counting crumpled naira notes, with a look of desperate hope. There was a child sleeping in a wheelbarrow, oblivious to the world. Each page was a punch to the gut. It wasn't just art, it was truth. You drew these? Chidi asked, his voice thick. He wasn't looking at a cleaner anymore. He was looking at a prodigy. Amara hugged herself, trying to make herself smaller. My father taught me, she whispered, staring at the floor. Before the sickness took him, he said art is how we breathe. And why are you here? Amara, why are you scrubbing floors with hands that can do this? She finally looked up, her eyes wet. Dreams don't pay school fees, sir. My sister, Nkechi, she is smart. Smarter than me. She wants to be a doctor. When Papa died, the money stopped. I dropped out of fine arts so she wouldn't have to leave school. The confession hung in the air, heavy and heartbreaking. She had buried her gift to fertilize her sister's future. Chidi felt a familiar ache in his chest. He remembered his own father, a man who painted with passion but died unknown and poor. He remembered his late wife, whose brushes gathered dust in his locked attic. "You are not burying this talent, Amara," Chidi said, snapping the book shut. The authority in his voice made her jump. "Not on my watch." He handed the book back to her, but he held onto it for a second longer, establishing a connection. "Keep this safe. Tomorrow, you are not cleaning the penthouse. You are coming to my private office. We have business to discuss." Amara's eyes widened in panic. "Business? Sir, I don't understand." "You will," he said, turning back to his desk. "Now go, before the supervisor sees you." Amara hurried away, clutching her sketchbook to her chest. She thought she was in trouble. She didn't know she had just been discovered by the one man in Lagos who could change her destiny. But in the shadows of the hallway, someone else had been watching. "My people, can you imagine sacrificing your only dream just so your family can eat? That is the burden of the firstborn. If you have ever made a sacrifice for someone you love, type strength in the comments." The next morning, Amara stood outside Chidi's mahogany double doors. Her heart hammered against her ribs like a trapped bird. She had swapped her uniform for her best dress, a faded Ankara print that had been washed one too many times. But standing in this hallway of glass and steel, she felt smaller than ever. She knocked. "Come in." Amara pushed the door open. Chidi was there, standing by the window overlooking the chaotic beauty of Lagos. But he wasn't alone. Sitting on the edge of his desk, legs crossed, was Zara Adeleke. She was stunning and terrifying, dressed in a white pantsuit that cost more than Amara's family earned in a decade. Her skin glowed with the kind of pampering only old money could buy. "Is this her?" Zara asked, looking Amara up and down as if she were inspecting a stain on the carpet. "The girl who was wasting time?" "Zara, please," Chidi warned, his voice low. He turned to Amara, his expression softening. "Amara, sit down." Amara sat on the edge of the leather chair, clutching her purse. "I went through your sketchbook again last night," Chidi began, ignoring Zara's scoff. "It's brilliant, raw, authentic. I own a gallery in Victoria Island, the Canvas. I want to sponsor an exhibition." "Your exhibition?" The room went silent. Amara's mouth fell open. "An exhibition? For a cleaner?" Then, the fear set in. She looked at Chidi, handsome, wealthy, powerful. Men like him didn't help girls like her for free. She looked at Zara, who was watching her with hawk-like intensity. Amara stood up abruptly. "Sir, I cannot." Chidi frowned. "What? Why?" "I know how this world works," Amara said, her voice shaking but her chin high. "My father warned me. Nothing is free. I clean toilets, sir, but I have dignity. I will not be your side woman just to sell drawings." Zara burst into a sharp, cruel laugh. "Oh, this is rich. Chidi, your little charity case thinks you want to sleep with her." Chidi looked horrified. "Amara, no, you misunderstand. I honor your talent, not your body." "Then why keep it a secret?" Zara cut in, her eyes narrowing into slits. "Why are we having this meeting behind closed doors? Unless you do have something to hide, Chidi?" Amara looked between the man offering her a dream and the woman who looked ready to destroy her. She felt like a gazelle caught between a lion and a hunter. She turned to the door. "I need to get back to work, sir. Please don't ask me again." "My story, family, here is the question of the day. Was Amara right to be suspicious? In a world where powerful men often exploit desperate women, was she protecting her honor, or did she insult a genuine helper? Tell me in the comments, hit the like button if you think she should run. The bleach fumes burned Amara's eyes, but the sting in her heart was worse. 2 hours after walking out of Chidi's office, her phone vibrated in her apron pocket. It was a text from Nkechi. "Cece, the principal sent me home. They said no school fees, no WAEC exams. I'm sorry." Amara leaned against the cold tiles of the hotel bathroom, sliding down until she hit the floor. The fees were 150,000 naira. She had 4,000 naira in her account and a half-eaten loaf of bread at home. Her pride in Chidi's office felt foolish now. Pride couldn't pay for exams. Pride couldn't keep Nkechi off the streets. Sleeping on the job? The supervisor, a thick-necked man who smelled of stale cigarettes, loomed over her. "Get up! One more mistake and you are out." Amara scrambled up, wiping her face. As she exited the bathroom, she nearly collided with Chidi. But this time, he wasn't alone. Standing next to him was a stern-looking woman in a black blazer holding a briefcase. "Amara," Chidi said, his voice devoid of the softness he used before. "It was all business. This is Barrister Funmi. She is my corporate lawyer, and she is here to represent you. Amara blinked. Me? I heard you, Chidi said, his eyes intense. I heard you say you have dignity. I respect that. So we do this the right way. No secrets. No handshake deals. Barrister Funmi stepped forward, handing Amara a document. This is a standard artist representation contract. It includes an advance payment of 2 million naira, enough to settle your family, get supplies, and focus on the exhibition. No strings attached, just art. 2 million naira. The number spun in Amara's head. It was more money than her father had made in his lifetime. It was Nkechi's school fees, university tuition, and rent for 3 years. Why? Amara whispered, looking at Chidi. Why do this for a nobody? Chidi stepped closer, ignoring the staring hotel guests. Because the world is full of noise, Amara. But your work is the only thing I've heard in years that tells the truth. He held out a pen. Amara looked at the pen. She looked at the contract. She thought of Nkechi crying at the school gate. With a trembling hand, she took the pen and signed her name. But as the ink dried, a camera flash blinded them from the lobby balcony. Zara was watching, and she had proof. My people, when God wants to bless you, he doesn't look at your bank account, he looks at your gift. Amara is staring at a life-changing amount of money. If you were in her shoes, desperate and broke, would you sign immediately, or would you still be scared? Drop your thoughts below. The money was in the bank. Nkechi was back in school, wearing a new uniform and smiling for the first time in years. But for Amara, the real trial was just beginning. Chidi insisted she attend the Lagos Art Collective mixer at his gallery, The Canvas. He bought her a dress emerald green silk that felt like water against her skin. But as she stood in front of the mirror in the gallery restroom, Amara didn't see an artist. She saw a maid playing dress-up. She scrubbed her hands twice, convinced they still smelled of industrial cleaner. You look like a queen. Stop shaking. Funka, her best friend, had told her over the phone earlier. Head up. You are Amara Nwosu. You draw with fire. Amara took a deep breath and stepped out into the gallery. The room was freezing, chilled by aggressive air conditioning and the icy stares of the Lagos elite. Waiters floated by with champagne trays. The air smelled of expensive perfume and arrogance. Chidi spotted her and smiled, a genuine warmth that anchored her. He waved her over to a group of men wearing agbada that cost more than a car. Gentlemen, Chidi announced, placing a hand on the small of her back. Meet the future of Nigerian art, Amara Nwosu. A heavy-set man with thick glasses and a coral bead necklace turned slowly. It was Chief Okonkwo, the most feared art critic in West Africa. He looked Amara up and down, not at her face, but at her hands calloused from years of wringing out mops. Nwosu? Okonkwo rumbled, his voice dripping with disdain. I don't know the name. Which university did you attend? Nsukka? Yaba Tech? I attended Yaba for 2 years, Amara stammered. But I had to leave. To work. Work? Okonkwo raised a brow. Doing what? She was head of housekeeping at my hotel. Chidi interjected firmly. And her work speaks for itself, Chief. Okonkwo let out a dry, wheezing laugh. Housekeeping. Wonderful. Chidi, are you running a gallery or a charity ward? Art is for the refined mind, not for the help. The circle of elites tittered. Amara felt the blood drain from her face. She wanted to disappear into the floor. My family, have you ever walked into a room where people made you feel small, just because of your background? Chief Okonkwo thinks talent requires a degree. We know talent comes from God. Hit the like button if you want to see Amara silence this man with her success. Chidi opened his mouth to defend her, his eyes flashing with anger, but Amara turned and walked away, fighting back tears. She headed for the exit, but in the shadows near the sculpture garden, she heard a voice. It was Zara, on the phone. It's done, Chief. Destroy her in tomorrow's paper. I'll double the payment. Amara didn't confront Zara. She ran. She ran past the sculpture garden, past the waiters, and out into the humid Lagos night. The air was heavy with the smell of exhaust and impending rain. Amara, wait. Chidi caught her by the arm just as she reached the gate. His grip was firm but desperate. Let me go, sir, Amara snapped, yanking her arm back. Tears pricked her eyes. I heard them. Zara and that chief. They are planning to destroy me tomorrow. They say I am a fraud, a joke. I cannot fight people who buy ink by the barrel. She fumbled with her purse, pulling out the checkbook he had given her. Take it back. I will go back to the mop. At least the dirt there washes off. Chidi looked at the checkbook, then at her face. He didn't take it. Instead, he grabbed her hand and pulled her back toward a side door of the gallery, away from the party. Where are you taking me? To see the truth, he said grimly. He led her down a narrow corridor to a door secured with a biometric lock. It beeped green, and he pushed it open. The room was silent and smelled of lavender and old turpentine. It was a studio. Canvases were stacked against the walls, covered in white sheets like ghosts. Chidi walked over and pulled a sheet off the center easel. Amara gasped. It was a painting of a storm over the Atlantic, violent and beautiful, but it was unfinished. The bottom corner was blank. My wife, Ada, Chidi said, his voice cracking. She painted this. She was brilliant, Amara. But she was afraid. She cared too much about what the chief Okonkwo of the world thought. She hid her work. She said she would exhibit when she was ready. Then the cancer came. She died with her music still inside her. He turned to Amara, his eyes burning with a mixture of grief and determination. I am not doing this for charity. I am doing this because I failed her. I let her hide. I will not let you hide. Let them write their lies. Your truth is louder. My story, family, this is deep. Chidi isn't just a rich man playing hero. He is a man trying to heal a wound that never closed. Do you think shared pain is the strongest bond between two people? Type love if you feel for Chidi. Amara reached out and touched the unfinished painting. She understood now. This was a war against silence. She looked at Chidi, and for the first time, she didn't see a boss. She saw a partner. Okay, she whispered. We fight. But as they stood in the quiet room, a notification pinged on Amara's phone. It was a link to a blog. The headline read, The Maid's Mistake. Is Chidi Okafor's new protege sleeping her way to the top? Lagos gossip moves faster than a fiber optic cable, and by morning, the story was everywhere. Amara sat at her small kitchen table, staring at her phone. The blog post had been shared 10,000 times. The comments were brutal. She scrubbed floors. Now she's scrubbing his wallet. Art? Please. It's just pillow talk sketched on paper. But the blow that drew blood didn't come from anonymous trolls. It came from the Lagos Arts Daily. Chief Okonkwo had published an editorial titled, The Clean Copy, Why the Maid's Art Lacks Soul. In it, he insinuated that Amara's style was suspiciously similar to an obscure Senegalese artist from the 90 seconds. He didn't use the word plagiarism outright, he was too smart for a lawsuit, but the seed was planted. At the gallery, the phone was ringing, but not for sales. That was the commissioner's wife, Chidi said, slamming his mobile down on the glass desk. He looked tired. She's canceling her RSVP. She says she doesn't want to be associated with a scandalous event. Amara stood by the window, watching the rain lash against the glass. Maybe she is right, Chidi. Look at what they are doing to you. Your reputation, your hotel. They are dragging it all through the mud because of me. They are dragging it because they are afraid, Chidi countered, walking over to her. Zara is behind this. She knows that if you succeed, her status as the queen of the arts is over. She buys art. You bleed it. But nobody is coming. Amara's voice rose, cracking with frustration. An empty gallery is not a revolution, Chidi. It's a funeral. Chidi grabbed her shoulders, forcing her to look at him. Then we don't need their crowd. We need the crowd. If the elites won't come, we open the doors to the streets. We make it free entry. We invite the students, the market women, the conductors, the people you actually draw. Amara's eyes widened. It was social suicide for a luxury gallery. It was madness. It was perfect. My story, family. Chidi is about to flip the script. They tried to gatekeep the art, so he is tearing down the gates. If you want to see the high society snobs humbled by the power of the people, make sure you are subscribed. You don't want to miss the storm that is coming. Do it, Amara whispered. Let them come. Chidi picked up the phone to call the printers. But across town, Zara was sipping hibiscus tea, smiling at a text message from a hired thug. She wasn't just planning to boycott the event, she was planning to burn it down. The night of the exhibition arrived with a thunderstorm that shook the foundations of Victoria Island. Lightning illuminated the skyline, but inside the canvas, The atmosphere was electric for a different reason. Chidi had kept his word. The velvet ropes were gone, the heavy glass doors were wide open, and the people had come. University students with wild hair and paint-stained jeans mingled with market women who had wrapped their best jelly for the occasion. A group of Okada riders stood mesmerized before a charcoal sketch of a traffic jam, arguing passionately about the perspective. The gallery, usually a mausoleum of whispered critiques, was alive with laughter, debate, and the heartbeat of Lagos. Amara stood in the corner, overwhelmed. She wore a simple white dress, looking like a spirit against the dark walls. "They see themselves," Chidi whispered, appearing beside her with 2 glasses of Chapman. "You gave them a mirror, Amara." Just then, the crowd near the entrance parted like the Red Sea. Zara Adeleke swept in. She was not alone. Flanking her were 2 large men in ill-fitting suits, and trailing behind like a vulture was Chief Okonkwo. She wore a dress of blood-red satin, a jarring contrast to the earthy tones of the gallery. "Chidi!" Her voice cut through the hum of the room. "What is this circus? I can smell the poverty from the parking lot." The room went silent. The students glared. The market women folded their arms. "You are not welcome here, Zara," Chidi said, stepping in front of Amara. "I have every right," she sneered, pulling a document from her clutch. "As a shareholder in the parent company of this gallery, I am shutting this down. This exhibition is unauthorized. It is a liability." She signaled to the men in suits. "Clear the room. Now." One of the thugs moved toward the nearest painting, a delicate portrait of Amara's late father. He reached out to grab it, his rough hands ready to tear. "No!" Amara screamed, lunging forward. "My people, the crisis is here." Zara is using her money to bully the truth. She wants to silence Amara by force. Will Chidi let her destroy his dream and Amara's legacy? Hit the like button if you are ready to fight. Before the thug could touch the canvas, a cane slammed down onto his wrist. Everyone froze. Standing there, trembling with rage, was an old man in a faded coat. It was the man from the very first sketch the street beggar Amara had drawn months ago. He had been invited. "You will not touch her soul," the old man rasped. "Not while we breathe." The sound of the cane hitting the thug's wrist rang out like a bell calling the faithful to prayer. For a second, violence hung heavy in the air. The thug raised a fist, his face twisted in anger, but he stopped. He wasn't looking at the old man. He was looking at the wall of people that had formed behind him. The university students had linked arms. The market women had dropped their bags and stood with hands on hips, ready for a fight. The Okada riders had stepped forward, helmets in hand like makeshift shields. "Touch him," a student challenged, "and you answer to all of us." Zara's face turned a shade of purple that clashed horribly with her red dress. "Have you all lost your minds?" she shrieked, her composure shattering. "This is my property. These are criminals. Officer, arrest them." She turned to the police officer she had brought, but he was staring at a drawing of a tired policeman directing traffic in the rain. He looked at the drawing, then at Amara. He didn't move. "This is not a gallery anymore, Zara," Chidi said, his voice cutting through the noise. "It is a sanctuary, and you are trespassing." "You are ruined, Chidi," Zara spat, pointing a manicured finger at Amara. "And you little gutter rat, you think these peasants can save you? Tomorrow, I will have this building condemned. I will burn these scribbles myself. I wouldn't do that if I were you." The voice was soft, accented, and carried an authority that made even Zara freeze. A man stepped out from the shadows near the back office. He was dressed in a simple black suit, but the way he moved screamed power. He was an older man with silver hair and skin like polished mahogany. Chief Okonkwo gasped, his glasses nearly sliding off his nose. Sir Anthony Cole?" The room rippled with whispers. Sir Anthony Cole, the Nigerian-British billionaire, the man who owned the largest collection of contemporary African art in London. He hadn't been seen in Lagos in 5 years. He walked past Zara as if she were a piece of furniture and stopped in front of Amara. He studied her face, then looked at the portrait of her father. "I came here tonight because I heard rumors of a scandal," Sir Anthony said, his voice echoing in the silent room. "I expected a disaster. Instead, I found the heartbeat of a nation." He turned to Chidi. "I want the collection. All of it. For the new wing of the Tate Modern in London. Name your price." "My story, family, did you hear that? The stone that the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. Zara wanted to burn the art, and God sent a buyer to take it to London. If you believe that your enemies will become your footstool, type Amen in the comments. Zara stood open-mouthed, her threats dying in her throat. Chief Okonkwo was suddenly sweating profusely. But Chidi wasn't looking at the billionaire. He was looking at Zara, and he was slowly taking off his engagement ring. The sound of the diamond engagement ring hitting the polished concrete floor was louder than the thunder outside. It spun, catching the gallery lights, before settling at Zara's feet, a circle of gold that now meant nothing. "Chidi," Zara hissed, her voice trembling with a mix of fury and disbelief. "Pick that up, right now. You are embarrassing yourself." "No, Zara," Chidi said, his voice calm, stripped of all pretense. "I am freeing myself. For years, I let you and your father's world dictate what was valuable. I let you turn my life into a performance. But tonight I choose what is real." He stepped back, standing shoulder to shoulder with Amara. "You wanted to buy the art to bury it. Sir Anthony wants to share it with the world. You are not a collector, Zara. You are a gatekeeper, and the gate is now broken." Zara looked around. The market women were snickering. The students were recording on their phones. Even her hired thugs were backing away, sensing the shift in power. She was stripped bare in front of the very people she despised. "You will regret this," she spat, her eyes filled with venom. She turned on her heel and stormed out, her red heels clicking like gunshots on the floor. Chief Okonkwo, seeing his patroness flee and realizing the wind had changed direction, plastered a nervous smile on his sweaty face. He turned to Sir Anthony. "Ah, Sir Anthony, a brilliant discovery, yes? I was just telling my colleagues that Amara's work has a certain, raw, unpolished genius that I have always admired." "Save your ink, Chief," Amara spoke up. Her voice was quiet but steady. She wasn't the scared cleaner anymore. "My work is not for your admiration. It is for the people you laughed at." Sir Anthony chuckled dryly. "I think you should leave, Chief. Before you write yourself into a corner you cannot escape. My story, family. Have you ever seen a hater turn into a fan the moment you succeed? Chief Okonkwo is the definition of a fair-weather friend. If you have people in your life who only clap when others are clapping, cut them off." As the chief scurried away like a rat caught in the light, the gallery erupted in cheers. But amidst the celebration, Chidi turned to Amara. The victory was won, but the night wasn't over. He had one more truth to tell her, one that terrified him more than Zara ever could. The last guest had left. The storm outside had settled into a gentle, rhythmic drizzle against the glass walls of the canvas. Amara sat on a bench in the center of the empty gallery, clutching the business card Sir Anthony had given her. It felt heavy, like a stone in her palm. 2 hours ago, she was a maid afraid of losing her job. Now, she was an international sensation. But when Chidi approached her, loosening his tie, she didn't smile. She looked at the painting of the storm, Ada's unfinished work, and then at her own sketches surrounding it. "Amara?" Chidi asked, sensing her mood. "You should be celebrating. You won." "Did I?" She looked up, her eyes searching his. "Or did I just finish someone else's story?" Chidi froze. "I saw how you looked at me tonight, Chidi," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Like I was a miracle. But I need to know. Are you helping me because I am Amara? Or because I remind you of her? Am I just the brush you are using to finish what your wife started?" The question hung in the air, sharp and painful. It was the fear of every person who has ever been a second choice. The fear that she was just a placeholder for a ghost. Chidi knelt in front of her, ignoring the dust on his expensive suit trousers. He took her hands, rough, scarred, and covered in charcoal dust, into his own. "Ada was my past," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "She taught me to appreciate art. But she is gone. Amara, for 5 years, I have been a walking corpse. I came to work, I made money, I went home. I felt nothing." He squeezed her hands. "When I saw that drawing in the trash, I didn't see Ada. I saw life. You didn't just wake up my gallery, Amara. You woke up my heart. I am not looking for a project. I am looking for a partner." My story, family, this is the moment of truth. Imposter syndrome is real. Sometimes when we get blessed, we feel like we are just lucky or filling a space. But Chidi just made it clear. She is not a replacement. She is a revelation. If you believe you are worthy of a love that sees you for you, drop a heart emoji in the comments. Amara looked into his eyes and saw no ghosts there, only heat. She leaned forward, the distance between their worlds closing until it vanished completely. But just as their lips were about to meet, her phone buzzed with a message from Nkechi. "Sister, pack your bags. You won't believe what just arrived in the mail." 6 months later, the sun was setting over the dusty streets of Surulere, casting a golden glow on a freshly painted building. The sign above the door read, "The Adeleke and Nwosu School of Arts, free for all dreamers." Amara stood in the center of the classroom. It wasn't the Tate Modern in London, where her work was currently hanging. It wasn't the Louvre in Paris, where critics were calling her the voice of West Africa. It was the same rundown school where she had first picked up a pencil as a child. But now, the roof didn't leak, the fans worked, and every desk was piled high with quality sketch pads paid for by her first check from Sir Anthony. She watched a young boy drawing a hawker outside the window. He was biting his lip, lost in the zone. He reminded her of herself. "You really did it," a voice said from the doorway. Chidi walked in. He wasn't wearing his usual Italian suit. He wore jeans and a simple polo shirt, looking younger, lighter. "We did it," Amara corrected, walking over to him. "I just provided the paint. You provided the belief." Chidi looked around the room, breathing in the smell of graphite and possibility. "I thought about taking you to the finest restaurant on the island tonight," he said, reaching into his pocket. "But that's not us. That's the world we navigate, not the ground we stand on." He dropped to one knee on the cracked terrazzo floor, the same floor where Amara used to sit and dream. "Amara, you found beauty in a trash can. You found hope in a hopeless place. And you found me when I was lost in my own tower." He opened a small velvet box. Inside lay a ring with a raw, uncut diamond, imperfect, unique, and unbreakable. "Will you build a new canvas with me?" Tears blurred Amara's vision. "Yes," she whispered, pulling him up to kiss him. 1,000 times yes. Suddenly, the door burst open. "Sister! Sister!" Nkechi ran in, waving a thick brown envelope, screaming with joy. Funke was right behind her, dancing and waving a handkerchief. "I got in!" Nkechi yelled, jumping into Amara's arms. "University of Lagos, medicine and surgery, full scholarship." Amara held her sister tight, looking over her shoulder at Chidi, who was smiling with tears in his eyes. The cleaning lady had become the queen of her own destiny. The broom was gone, the brush remained. The picture was finally complete. And that, my family, is how a crumpled paper in a trash can changed the history of the art world. It proves that no condition is permanent. Your current situation is not your final destination. Thank you for journeying with me through Amara's pain and victory. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Stay blessed.